So good afternoon. We're here for the final session of our online conference. So mostly the work here now is to try to gather some conclusions, some impressions that that were stemming out from the different sessions, and to achieve that goal. I'm here with Ricardo Rodrigues, who moderated the panel with our keynote speakers, Ingrid Schorn and Michael Corpe, and also Manuel Vieira, who moderated a session that abruptly was interrupted by technology. Unfortunately, we managed to have most of the session recorded and both presentations by COST members that were in general presenting the deliverables from our action. So the idea here is a very informal talk about the main conclusions, the main impressions that the moderators collected from their sessions. And then I will add some notes, personal notes too on that. I was hosting a roundtable in Portuguese with some keynote speakers from Portugal on the key topics of the conference, and then I will finish with some upcoming events and outputs from our action, just to make you aware of where we're heading to. So probably I'll start with Manuel, with some of her personal impressions about the sessions that she was attending. So summarizing, Manuel, what most important ideas resulted from the sessions today? What did struck you? What was new for you? What can you add to our reflection as we end this day of conference?
Well, I was in several sessions, so I'm a little bit puzzled now, but I try to put some order in my papers. And I would say that there are some few points that can be summarized. One of them has to do with theoretical and methodological issues, because I've heard some interesting and very important approaches. The cost action presentation was considering mainly macro level approaches, because it was a kind of a comparative report from the several countries that are included in this cost action. So the comparisons were interesting to stress some important macro trends. One of them is across Europe, the decline of the youth population, not only due to the demographic factors, but also due to, in some countries, due to migration, brain drain issues, namely in the aftermath of the 2009 crisis. And the economic crisis hit every countries, but in southern and eastern countries more than others. And one of the strategies considering education was to postpone the entrance in the labor market. So the educational trajectories seem to have been increasingly prolonged in some countries. And although early school leavers is still a problem, and the idea stressed was that early school leavers were unlikely to return to full-time education. So this is a challenge in terms of intervention. And in terms of policies and interventions, some summarize some the main European policies, namely youth Erasmus Plus and young youth. I don't remember now. I'm a little bit tired, sorry. But the policies were targeted to mainly entrepreneurship, gaining new skills. So it was much a kind of individualistic approach, putting the responsibility of exceeding employment, putting this responsibility on the young people. These macro level approaches, I think, must be questioned, and eventually new concepts and new creative concepts have to be put forward in our study on needs. The concepts like metropolitan influence zone, it was one of the concepts that I think it's very interesting to deal with. The concept also of border regions, which is a kind of remote regions, but have some specificity because it links to other countries. So they are in the border. And this kind of new concepts may help to think about this topic with a kind of a fresh form of getting new interesting questions in this field. But very few micro level approaches were presented in parallel sessions. I've heard one ethnographic or two ethnographic kind of approach. The other were mainly using statistics, so macro level approaches. And it's important, I think, to have also this kind of approach, not only objective. For instance, regarding education, it's not only important to map the qualifications of young people in each country. That's a kind of objective qualifications obtained, but it's also interesting to accede to their subjective kind of qualifications in terms of are they feeling overqualified for the job they have entered or underqualified. So Yes, and also some statistics categories may also be, might be interesting to be questioned, because we have seen in this conference that some NEET population are outside the radars of statistics. So why are they invisible to statistic indicators? Perhaps these indicators are not suitable to capture some kind of youth realities. So it was interesting to see that. And in terms of policies and interventions, some questions were raised, very interesting, regarding rural young people. One was about mobility and public transportation, which is a key factor regarding public intervention and policies, also because the geographical mobility of young people living in rural areas is limited. So it limits the access to further education and training, employment offers, etc. And also in this last parallel session, it was questioned the problem of digital access and inclusion in terms not only of accessibility, because it means that the investment in acquisition of electronic equipment, such as computers, is not only always available to families, but also connectivity. In terms of connectivity, many rural and remote areas still have poor internet broadband. And also digital literacy. It is important to give young people a set of digital skills that allows them to enhance the use of ICTs and the internet, namely to learning contexts and instruments. And at last, and thinking about the present and the future, it was also said, it was, sorry, the impact of COVID-19 raises enormous challenges, not only to young education, because as we have seen, a lot of e-learning dropout increasing, maybe increasing in several countries or inside the countries, different kind of social class young people. So the broadening of academic and educational inequalities may be one of this impact. And the other one is on youth employment or unemployment. We see that COVID goes along with economic crisis. So young people, young population is the group that is more vulnerable of the active population. So we have to expect and deal with youth unemployment rising or increasing for the next years. So it was
Thank you, Manuel. I think
so I leave to Ricardo other aspects or the
Yes, these are some personal notes, and I think you made a very comprehensive analysis of many topics coming up from the discussions, and I think that was one of the pluses here. The diversity of topics was much greater than I could expect, to be honest, during a one-day session, one-day conference. So thank you for your summary. Ricardo, some personal notes on what you have been watching today.
Yeah, so I was, as Francisco mentioned in the beginning, I was moderating the session with Ingrid Schoon and Michael Corbett. So we had two really interesting, very rich, insightful presentations. So for sure, I will fail miserably in summing up or giving you like highlights or key points. So I will basically share, 2 or 3 ideas that stuck, I guess. So on the conceptual side, and this was evident in both presentations, actually. So this idea of NEET as an umbrella category is quite a comprehensive one. And so when you look deep, and here, the usefulness of actually using more qualitative approaches. So when you look deep, you'll find a lot of diversity, right? In terms of the circumstances, the actual circumstances of people within this broad category. So both Michael and Ingrid, they specified like subgroups of people. So just to give an idea, so within NEET we find discouraged youth, people actually caring for other people, people with illnesses, disabilities, long-term unemployed, but also short-term unemployed. And so there's significant diversity within this group, and when then we think about what the implications are for intervention, and I will get to that in a bit with more detail, but this idea that for interventions to be effective, they really need to acknowledge this diversity. So this was, I guess, the first thing. Also connected to this, I think a really interesting input from Michael, like conceptual input in my perspective, was what is actually rural, right? And there, what came across was the value of this fine-grained distinction within rural. More specifically, so the value of distinguishing between rural areas that are under the influence of metropolitan areas from those that are not under that influence, and really where we find the most negative outcomes is in those areas that are not under the influence of metropolitan areas. So again, this idea of going beyond like this category with just 2 subcategories. So going beyond that and trying to come up with a more diverse notion of what rural actually is. What else? Something that I found really interesting. So this one was one of the last points by Michael. So when we are trying to acknowledge the diversity within the NEET group, the value of acknowledging that there might be also ethnic diversity. And actually, Michael, shared with us this result from his research showing that actually when we compare white people living in rural and non-rural areas, we don't find significant differences in terms of their outcomes, while when we're comparing rural and non-rural in regard to indigenous people, there we will find significant difference. So this intersection between the space, the rural, non-rural category, then with these other social categories, I think it's really interesting. It seems like a promising avenue for further research. Then I would also highlight something that I found really interesting in Ingrid's presentation. So she shared with us this comprehensive framework that basically looks into school to work transition regimes that actually, allows us to compare different countries, trying in a way to account for differences that we find between countries in regard to the prevalence of NEET. So it's a very interesting framework. I will not get into details here, but basically within this framework, she distinguishes between 4 types of school to work transition regimes. So just to mention one of the dimensions, that is type, you have a universalistic regime, an employment-centered regime, a liberal regime, and a sub-protective regime, where actually Portugal falls. What else? Then also something that Maria Manuel already mentioned, so the huge impact of COVID. The results are really striking. To be honest, I was not aware of these results, and in some cases, the prevalence, the number of NEET actually doubles in a really short time period. So that was really, really, really striking. Finally, and getting now, and this will be my last point, I guess. So in terms of what can be actually done. So Ingrid's presentation towards the end focused really on this. And there I would highlight, so Ingrid made this distinction between a more individual intervention approach from a more structural approach. And this more individual intervention approach, she talked a little bit about what can be done to promote engagement among youth population. So she mentioned the value of personal development to help youth cope with personal difficulties or boost confidence and motivation, the value of skill development, the value of facilitating access to mental health services. So she also mentioned, this connection, yes, between NEET and mental health issues. Also the value of mentoring and other aspects. As to the more structural initiatives that can be put forward, so the value of setting up, creating strong connections between education institutions and employers, the value of boosting quality and relevance of education and training, also providing well-focused career guidance and information, creating viable employment and training opportunities, the value of social protection and unemployment insurance, and other aspects. But, I think this was basically it. So to finish, so 2 really great presentations. And I guess if you did not have the chance to participate, I think at least one, so the presentation by Michael Corbett will be made available very, very soon. So this is it on my side, Francisco.
Thank you, Ricardo. I'm not going to repeat some of the aspects that you just mentioned, you and Manuel. I think you made quite comprehensive summaries of what was going on today. So I will just add three general notes. One is a more conceptual one. It's interesting how since the beginning of this section, we've been struggling a bit with the two concepts, NEET and rural, which is a bit strange for an action on rural NEET. So, but I think that if we start to look at the literature and some of the researches that is coming up, and for instance, Michael Corbet mentioned that today, others like Massimiliano Mascherini, who is the head of the Social Affairs Unit from the Eurofund, and that actually already held a webinar for us in July, in late June. We kind of understand now a bit more about the diversity of the group within or outside the rural areas. So that's something that I think we need to stick with, is the diversity of the group, and starting to think about models that really capture the singularities of this broad category, including in rural areas. But something else that comes up from Michael's presentation is quite new. In general, the NEET concept has not been being used outside Europe in general. Just recently, it seems that in Canada, probably in the United States, this category is starting to be used and referenced as a possible social category to be analyzed. Because until now, most of the research mentioned or referred to disengaged youth, which had some commonalities with the NEET group. So I think that the challenge that arises from our discussions today, to be honest, is to start to also to bridge between the European vision of NEET and a more kind of a transatlantic perspective, gathering the knowledge that comes up from the literature in the United States and Canada, because they have a very strong rural studies field back there. So that's something that we should, as an action, I think, work on. A second point has to do with the intervention. I was hosting a panel, a roundtable of Portuguese invited speakers on how are we managing to deliver formal education to face the rural needs challenges. So two or three things came up that I think they deserve to be shared. First of all, we have a kind of a gap between what we are offering to needs and what they're searching for. And this has to do with the fact that formal education institutions many times are not prepared to address directly these youths. This means that other forms of intervention, direct intervention, social support intervention, are really required to engage needs in future formal education offers. There's a very relevant report from the European Commission from 2018 that focuses specifically on the issues of engaging hard-to-reach needs. So that's a kind of reading that I would suggest for those that are interested in understanding how the intervention must be tailored to focus on this group in rural areas. And finally, something that Ricardo and Manuel already mentioned is the expected and already visible impact of the pandemic on needs, and particularly on rural needs. That's something that's more than expected. The International Labour Organization, since the beginning of the pandemic, has elected youths and women as the two most vulnerable groups to the socio-economical effects of the pandemics, namely unemployment. So if this action was important and relevant some years ago at the peak of the economical crisis. Now I think that more than ever, what we are going to develop from now on, what we can contribute to decision making and direct intervention as an action is really a challenge, because the numbers are starting to show up, and clearly the situation is not good for NEETs, and especially for NEETs in the countryside. So I think that in the following months, when Eurostat starts to provide more solid numbers on NEETs rates and NEETs rates by degree of urbanization, we will see the real impact that this is having on the group across the different countries. So in general, that's it. And thank you, Ricardo and Manuel, for your summary. I would take this chance just to share with you some upcoming news from our action. So very shortly, as you can see, we will have national reports. Our action was able to develop 14 national reports. They were presented today. Some of the key aspects of these reports were presented today in the morning. But from probably next week, they will be online. So these are very good overviews of what has happened to rural NEETs in different countries across Europe for the past decade. So this is data prior to COVID, but it's a starting point and an important one for our action to get to know a bit better how the situation evolves in different countries that are involved in this action. Also, we're also publishing in the upcoming days a manual for the classification of intervention best practices with rural NEETs. This was the presentation Claudia Petrescu and Emre Erdogan made today. They were focusing on this manual. So that's something that is going to come up very soon also. And of course, this is going to be online, and you can download it and use it as a guide in case you want to work on the classification or the development of best practices. And I would also like to share with you that the members are preparing two special issues. First one focusing on empowerment, education, and employment among rural youth, which is supposed to be published on Youth and Society Journal. We're just finishing up the contractualization of this special issue. And we also have in mind a special issue for the Sustainability Journal, focusing on rural youth and mobility issues. This is our other annual priority this year. Of course, more on this and other initiatives from our action is available on our website. So please do check on when you can our website. And for many of the sessions that were held today, you can, if you couldn't participate in some of them, many will be available on our Facebook. Some are already available. Others are going to be edited and uploaded to our Facebook. So you can also check and see some of the sessions that we held today. So in general, that's it. I'm really pleased to be with you today. It was well, it's hard to be not face to face. Some of you that are members were still missing that possibility of gathering again. We do not gather since almost 1 year. The first time we gathered was actually on the 29th and the 30th of January last year. So that seems now ages ago, but it was only 1 year. And I do hope that you keep safe and healthy, and that you keep connected to our action. Thank you very much, and see you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.